David Pilz. Some call me the Oracle. Some call me Whitestar. Aquasol. Salal to Spokes. Tactically, Whitestar Eagle Visions. I earn these names traditionally. I'm a pipe carrier, a lodge keeper. I'm a prophecy teacher. Right now, as a species, we are going through this amazing revolution. And you're a part of it. You know, way back in 2012 when nothing happened, so much happened. But they forgot to tell you. They forgot to show you. I'm sure you recognize the whole world is in a real interesting place right now. And the prophecies are clear that the past is coming to an end, is being dismantled as gently as possible, but definitively being dismantled. And you, as a human, are becoming so much more than you used to be. New chakras, frequencies, new energies, new awareness, new science. You want to keep up? Come hang out with me once a week. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff. Weird is the new sexy, they tell me. So come on, let's get weird together. Attack wise. See you soon. Here, have some. Get rid of some of that crap I've been carrying for way too long. Even if it's only been a minute, it's too long. So, the Gong Show continues. Are we living on a backwards planet or what? I mean, as you guys know, this is the Super Bowl for humanity. I've been waiting my entire lifetime for these times to happen, where we go through this transition where nothing is sacred, you know, and it's going to be challenged and dismantled as gently as possible, but definitively getting dismantled. You know, even just the dynamic of, you know, the Olympics, you know, some of us were backstage talking about that, and it couldn't be more perfect, right? You know, you're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be challenged. You're allowed to, your pious indignation, righteousness, you know, shows up, and you're supposed to. And you're supposed to be standing up for what you authentically within yourself are, you know, not just even believe, but how are you? Who are you? Right? You know, challenging all of that. It's not even about left or right anymore. It's not even about north and south anymore. You know, it's so much about you, about me. You know, and how each one of us is going to find our rub. You know, I mean, I'm living now in Canada, right? You know, talking about censorship and oppression and all that wonderful stuff. But you know what? I'm having a good life. You know, my life is awesome. You know, it's difficult to say. You know, I can appreciate, you know, with so many powerful stories, you know, around the whole planet about, you know, the ick. But, you know, for me, it's kind of where we pay attention to. It's kind of where we focus. You know, that's what shows up and mirrors back at us, right? You know, it's, yeah, when you're able to see the big picture and you know that there is an end game to this, that you're actually being groomed, however horrible that word may have become, you know, but you're actually being groomed one sacred dynamic at a time, one psychological dynamic at a time, one sociological dynamic at a time. It's all being dismantled. It's not just the taking down of a few buildings and a few businesses. We're really in this process of this reset. You know, we're really in this process of becoming ultimately our birthright. But that means we have to move out of mom and dad's basement. You know, we actually have to stand up and say, I can do better on my own. How can you keep cutting off my internet? How can you keep cutting off my mom? How come you don't make me cookies like you used to? Well, it might be time for us to kind of do this independently on our own as grown-ups. Actually show up. And instead of the complacency that we've created this entitlement around, we show up, you know, in such a healthy way. And again, I don't even just mean the money. I mean metaphysically. I mean, we have certainly in this last year on this planet learned the word narcissist, haven't we? We throw that around like hotcakes. I'm really hoping that the next word that gets thrown around is accountability. Yeah, I know, not so easy to throw around then, is it? Right? You know, you know, and here I am chewing on, you know, the sociological and the psychological and all that stuff. There are some pretty powerful changes going on here right now for everybody, and it's exciting to watch. I have had the privilege, the honor, if you like, of walking in some pretty keen circles in this lifetime. I get the honor of talking to some amazingly brilliant people, metaphysically connected, sacred, power brokers. And power comes in many forms, of course, not just money and fame and what have you, but some very, very, very powerful people. And I know that I've been able to walk away from each one of those encounters a better version of myself, even if just a little bit. And I'm hoping, of course, this is, again, what Whitestar Teachings is about, is I'm really hoping to share that with you. I really want you to be able to, through all these powerful and amazing people that are showing up every week, be able to walk away with something that has impact in your world in a very powerful and positive way. And in saying that, I would love nothing better than if you could come out and join us here. I met Harry, oh my God, I think it was before civilization, to be honest. We bumped into each other accidentally on this earth plane. I'd have to say probably 15, maybe even 20 years ago. Every so often, I have the privilege of him and his wife invite me over and feed me. And I'm so reluctant to leave because we always get that close to saving all the world's problems, and then it's like, oh, is it that time already? And but we have to do that again very soon. I want everyone to meet Harry. Harry, meet everybody. Without, and you are pure humility. I get it. But here on Whitestar Teachings, we have this nasty habit of when we invite our guests out, we put the spotlight on them and we say, brag about you. I want to hear your story. I want to, and this is that place where, trust me, you're amongst friends. This is a safe container, I promise. And we want to know you. We want to know you through your eyes. And so, Harry, how's it going?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really honored. That's the word that comes up first. I've known you for a long time, and I would say it like this: we're kind of like angels that pass in the night. Every so often, it'd be a while that we haven't seen each other, and then suddenly you appear, I appear, we connect, we disconnect, but we're always connected.
Yes, I kind of like to describe that as eagles don't necessarily flock together.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And the beautiful thing is that we were living, my wife and I, Kathy, who's my partner on every level. We were living in Burnaby in Vancouver, and Spirit just said, well, enough's enough for you. And we're moving you to Vancouver Island, which is where I live now. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. And typical David, he just hits the nail right on the head, or he finds the bird as it's flying, because basically every day we have eagles just flying over. It's wonderful. And we have 4 trees around where we live that basically they are crow. I would say they're crow apartments.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but then we have the ravens, and they all kind of intermix and mingle, and it's supposed to be very quiet here, but it's not. And then I have an 8-minute walk to the ocean, which literally, especially as it's summer now, every night, Kathy and I, about 9:30, 9:45, we go to the beach. Put our feet in the ocean and just enjoy. I mean, we go to the beach at other times, but late at night, it's beautiful. It really is. So I'm living a dream, man. It's like
I'm a little bit green here with jealousy.
Honestly. Good.
Exactly.
I like it.
In a sacred way. Yeah. Awesome.
So it's really great to be talking with you. I think, as you said in your introduction, it's like there's so many amazing. Well, let me put it this way: the whole planet is amazing. And as much as we tend to wanna, with our conditioning, want to be separate from each other, the one thing I think lately for me, for Kathy and I would say, is that we've totally embodied, excuse me, the idea of oneness. You know, and as you were saying, you know, in your introduction, you know, we're so fragmented at the moment, but it's for purpose. You know, and that purpose in of itself is, in fact, I believe, the evolution. You know, not everybody's at the same place, as, you know, same level of evolution, but the bottom line is, and in some ways, you use the word narcissism.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I would say on that is that, and I know it's, well, I won't say I know it's true for both of us, David, but it's like it's like at the moment, it's like I'm really enjoying this spiritual narcissism. You know, and I don't look at it as a way of, you know, good or bad, right or wrong. It's just, it's happening, and waking up to that actuality is wonderful. And something happened this afternoon which is kind of interesting. I want to share.
Please. Yeah.
Share, definitely. You know, part of the work that I've been doing for over 30 years, part of it has been in the capacity as a therapist. I say a therapist, you know, hypnotherapy, other, pretty much every modality you can think of in the brain, in the brain sciences. I've learned
a whole wall full of certificates. I've seen.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is interesting. You know, I'm a bit of a seeker, as you said at the beginning. You know, my mind sometimes goes, precedes me in a lot of things that I in my endeavors. What's happening lately? And remember, there is only now. And that's very profound. And that's something that I share with everybody that I meet. You know, it's now. There is no past. There is no future. Okay, relevantly, we know, you know, how many people, David, have you met who you could actually say stay in the now?
Few. Very few.
You know, this.
Probably, you know, it's only those people who actually find those in their life, some kind of a, you know, maybe an athlete, right? When you're in the zone, you're in the now, right? You know, when you're in sacred ceremony, you're anchoring in, and you're in that now, right? You know, but yeah, it's most people live in the when or the then, right? You know,
exactly. And you know, it's, you know, one of my ethos, or you know, one of my main ethos is there's no good, there is no good, there is no bad, there just is. We've all heard that one before, and sometimes it ends up being a cliche. But for me, I tend to take things spiritually and literally. And I find that when you take things literally without being connected to the emotional part of what you're talking about or thinking about, then that's a gateway to clarity. Okay?
totally.
So here's what's been happening lately. And over, as I said, over working with lots of people on many different issues, should we say, and also a lot of people now, which is really good, by the way. And I think you're one of the way showers here as well. Is that, you know, we have a lot of people who go, oh no, it's terrible, it's horrible, look, the world's going to crap. Okay, and I've tried this, I've tried that, and I've tried science, I've tried all these different things, right? And most of us do not want to be told what to do anymore. So as a, you know, and the therapy guy is just like, wow, you know, you know, the whole idea for me and you is that it's the basic idea is that you can take a horse, you can lead a horse on the water, but you can't make it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I found, Dave, is that lately, where before, you know, quote unquote, when you're teaching, it's like you had to be more in the teacher mode. Okay. Now what I'm finding is people are saying, I want more than that. You know, I actually have the capacity to go where you're going. So show me. And I think that's been the biggest difference that I found, especially, by the way, with that. I wonder who organized COVID, because that was really cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there is no good, there is no bad. And one of the things I think, or what I realized about COVID is that, like one of the things I like about you is like when we were meeting before and the conversations that we had, and being part of the, one of your students when you've been teaching, okay, is this whole idea, right, that everything is sacred, okay, and that sacredness, when you really embody that, it actually, as far as I'm concerned, opens up the left and the right brain. Okay. And in to some effect, what happens is, and this is just me spitballing here, is that it starts to connect, or at least the pineal gland starts to, put it this way, starts to pulsate, and we tend to start to go opening up for more information, shall we say.
Correct.
So what I found at one level is that it doesn't matter who you're working with and what the issue or the problem is. The story, we have the thing about, we have beliefs, and if whatever you believe, you will actualize. Okay. And you said it earlier as well, there's a difference. I think that belief is the third dimensional reflection, and knowing is the spiritual connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And what I'm finding now, or should I say, one of the keys I found to that at this level is the story. It doesn't matter what's happening, or by the stories that we tell, that we share, that is our reality. And it's so interesting that, especially me, I don't know how I can say that I've been really attached to some of my stories. Really attached. When it came to reality for me, like suddenly, the light bulb goes off and go, oh my God, you're telling the same story. And I remember with you, a lot of the stories that we get to tune into, okay, as reflections. I remember the indigenous teachings that, I sat down and listened to with you and got that information. Those stories are the map, okay? They're either the map of the culture, the map of us as humans, or indeed the map of our own individual interface with this third dimensional reality. So that's kind of something that Kathy and I were actually talking about before I came on, which is like, really, if you're there to help people, and remember, people can only help themselves. We just show each other the way, and then whether or not we quote unquote buy into it, or we go, oh my God, that seems like it's true, and then we test it out by doing what it is that we've heard, and testing out in our own neurology.
Yeah.
Basically, David, it's the story. And once you change that story, the cool thing is, it doesn't matter what you change your story to, because that's what you're going to experience. And what we have, at the moment is we have. I should ask you, tell me what story. I mean, when you started to talk today, right?
Yeah.
You told us about a story that's unfolding. Yeah. Okay, what is that story? I'm going to put it back to you. What is the story that's unfolding?
The story that's unfolding, I guess, if anything, is we are, as humans, in the middle of an evolutionary transition. We're becoming more, and in that process, the requirement of having to shed is required. And so that's the story in a paragraph. If I was to read the book of the back of the book, right? That's the story.
That's the story. And all of us are living through that story. And depends on where you are, what your focus is, or what you connect into inside of that overall story
Totally.
is where we find ourselves. And the beautiful thing is that everybody on this planet is at some level, at some part of that story. And the beautiful thing is, I think anyway, is the absolute wonder and joy of when you meet, obviously, my story meets your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we meet each other, and then we can expand on that, and we can, I
Totally.
loved it when you
I
said,
get to be a part of your story. We
exactly.
together get to be a part of whoever's listening to this right now, right?
Yeah.
We get to be a part of their story. We may not even know their names, right? And we still get to be a part of their story. And so I get where you just went with that,
Yeah,
but,
good. Good. Well, I knew you would. But
Yeah.
it's also, one of the areas that makes us be so close.
Mhm.
Because you said it. You said, we come down, have some dinner, we eat, we talk, we rap. But what are we doing? We're telling stories.
Telling stories. Yeah.
We're telling stories, relaying stories, and that in of itself creates that reality.
Yeah.
It's funny because
And on many levels, even I not just the indigenous, but with other people in my life, just through extension, I find that even my business dealings is about relationships, right? There has to be that rapport, and it's through the storytellings of this is who I am. This is again what we're asking of you when you first came on. What's your story? Where are you from? Right? Tell us about you, right? And see if we can see some of ourselves in that story, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Is like, whether you do or you don't, it's there. So with every interaction or the interactions that we have, okay, even if you don't want to hear somebody's story,
Yeah.
they'll give it to you.
Oh yeah.
That's what we do. We're always going, and getting back to quote unquote the therapy part, or at least understanding in the communications. The bottom line is, and I always say this, it's like, so you meet people and you go, I have no idea what that person is. And I go, really? You don't know who that person is? Listen to the story. Because we all talk about our reality through the stories we tell. And to me, that's the baseline now, David. That's the baseline, because all this, I've been in the communications field, and I've been, like persuasion and all these things, right? Yeah. Basically, it's very simple.
And you know what? This even translates into the afterlife. Okay, I've got this social work for the afterlife thing going on with ghost busting and parapsychology, right? Okay, but I created social work for the afterlife, and my words are literally, it's because it's like a social worker. You have to show up, figure out what the story is, and see if you can help, right? So even in the afterlife, when there's a haunting, there's a story. And by knowing the story, you can help. You can unravel it. And so again, we're either showing up for a ghost who's stuck, or a ghost in a human body, I'm saying, that's stuck, right? A person, right? You're absolutely right. This connection and communication is so imperative, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's right on target today. Like, I'm so happy to be here, and that's what we were kind of talking about this afternoon, Kathy and I, and it's so relevant, And you talked about, I know we went on just before you came on, and it was like the Paris Olympics. It's basically the planet at the moment, and I make that you're right on the money, in that basically the shift and changes of the ages are happening at every level. And it just depends on where you're tuned into, and you can only be tuned into where you are through your story. You can only be. So it's really interesting, and I tend to look at everything or anything that's happening now through that lens, and it can be
hard. I'm gonna pick your brain here a little bit on this. Okay. Now, how do I phrase or go here? The story, that's all we are, and I agree completely with you. We become attached to that story. Okay.
Yeah.
And then something new shows up to challenge that story.
Hmm.
And there's words like cognitive dissonance, and there's a resistance there, right?
Yeah.
How does a person overcome that, right? To change the story, to upgrade it, right? Because in my opinion, if I'm in conversation with somebody and they present something that's different from what I think or believe or think I know, one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to walk away convinced even more that my story is accurate, right? Okay. Or I'm going to walk away with my story being amended and it's more accurate, right?
Yeah.
It's in that moment, honestly, I guess it's what I'm seeing as one of your gifts is that you're able to capture people at that place, right? How do you challenge yourself and change your story without a suffering? Does it make sense? Like,
well, I have to say, remember, we just had the conversation. And we put it together that we were going to sit down and talk about more of it. But no. I think the thing is, the first thing that came up when you said that is that, of course, we are conditioned, and with something else is in the moment. I'll share the other thing that we did yesterday. It was a beautiful, really beautiful thing that Kathy did with me. And wow, pretty much, I have issues. My God, we all do. And there was a piece of work that we were doing yesterday. Actually, I won't even call it a piece of work because what we're looking to do is reframe the idea of work. Okay, because as soon as I say work or people say work, we go into that state.
Yeah. Whatever
work means, unless you really love your work, then that's different. Okay. So we did some unfolding. That's a good one. Actually, I take that from you. Unfolding. You said it earlier. So we did some unfolding, and this what Kathy did with me, which was so beautiful, is that just to let people know, we're both hypnotists, master hypnotists, do lots of trance channeling, do lots of trance work. I'll get into it later where where that kind of connected in. So Kathy took me through, we call it an induction. And here's what was in the induction. In the induction, she took me back, right? She took me back to the womb.
Cool.
Okay? She took me back to my birth through my mother's womb. And basically what happened was we kind of took me back, and then inside the womb, and then coming, being birthed, and what was happening around, okay, what I could actually kind of, recollect. And then she took me into this quote unquote portal that was in the birthing room, okay, and we went into the portal and basically started to work through an anti-clockwise spiral, okay. And then that anti-clockwise spiral, okay, was undoing all of the imprinting. Okay. And then when we went through that, through the whole of my being, and then we clockwise, so spiraled clockwise, okay, and then took that clockwise spiral through quote unquote my timeline up until now.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What I'm kind of illustrating, or when you talk about how do we, okay, we have a story. The story is imprinted. I always think of this, baby, we're born, and then we go, yay, wow, this is amazing. But that also depends on what was happening with your mother and her journey to birth you. Okay, let's
I'm convinced even conception matters. How conception, that moment, when the lights get dimmed and the music gets played.
That's why I love you.
Yeah,
because that's where we went as well.
Beautiful.
Exactly, because it's not just the birth, but the conception as well. So we get imprinted with, as I said, the baby. We come out and we go, whoa, all things being equal, okay, yay, and then immediately they go, and then they go, now we're going to give you the rules.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
We're gonna imprint what you need for the third dimension.
Yeah.
For this journey. And by the way, forget everything. Just forget it. Just forget it. And I'm not saying, I'm being a little bit provocative in that. But the bottom line is, here's my other thinking or my other thoughts on this through experience with quote unquote my guides.
Yeah.
Is that all of us at some point before we went, I'm going down there. And you basically have a little template. We go, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want, on a spirit level.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I think happens is then we have all these, I would say, grandiose plans about, being on Earth and the planet and that imprinting also, I think, in some ways throws a little spanner in there.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, the moment, the place, we choose our parents, if you like, right? So we set up the game rules, that our video game person is going to have to live kind of by. Like you said, you show up, here's the rules, right? And it's, even when you were talking about that right after birthing, the nurses do the measuring and the blowing out stuff. And I mean, there is definitely a man handling or a woman handling, whichever that happens, in your first, 10, 20 minutes of life in a big way. Temperature changes. I got involved with midwives that did water birthing for about 15 years or so. And that's a way better way to go, because at least, you don't even know you're born until they pull you out of the water and kind of wake you up, right? So, for sure. And so,
it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, Kathy, I've actually been to a couple of water births because Kathy's a doula as well. And she has, that's right. Yeah. So, and she does something called hypnobirthing, and she has her own method as well, which she's been doing for years. So, I agree, man. So just getting back to that whole idea. So we're already imprinted. It's already in there, right? And life as it does, we go through these things and we learn and we believe and we, it's all set. It's set and it's set as a story. Okay. So what I found is and it's let me share it this way. And it comes from spirit. So, I've been very fortunate that on my journey so far, things have dovetailed in, the things that I've learned and the pathway that I've quote unquote been put on has been very interesting, to the point where sometimes, well, lately actually, going in, tuning in with spirit, is that the information comes back and it goes, by the way, that thing that you learned, well, we gave it. We gave it to everybody. We gave you this, we gave you that, you gave you this, we gave you this. So most of the things that even if you go, okay, I'm a scientist and I'm all left-brained and all that's, all that way of thinking, none of it is redundant. It all comes from spirit. Okay, so I'll share it this way. So one of the ways, talking about the story, it's called, the name that's given in certain disciplines. I'll put it this way: it's called perceptual positions. Okay. Yeah. Now, here's the thing: no matter what you go through, no matter what's happening, let me illustrate like this. For people who, I'll share. I'm 66, so I've been around long enough.
Yeah.
And a very sporty. I'm really, really into sport, very much. It's like that thing. I was coming in, and they said, "What do you want to do?" Oh man, I just want to be a sports guy, man. I'm just going to be. And I came in, and then they went, "No." I went, "Please," and they went, "No." You have to do something else. Yeah. But I've always been a kind of like frustrated, like athlete. So this might rub some people up the wrong way. One of the most amazing athletes of all time for me was Muhammad Ali. Okay. Now for some people, if you don't know, you're a bit younger, whatever. People like Tyson. I like Tyson as well. just on that level. But one of the great things about Muhammad Ali is that he was able to, like they used to say, he's so fast, he's so quick, of course.
Like a butterfly.
Yeah, floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You see, what he was able to do, which all of us can do, by the way, however, it takes a little bit of training. But what he was able to do was when he was in his boxing match, he's fighting somebody else, he was able, and of course, in the martial arts, you know how to do this, right? If you're ready, if you've learned it. So what he was able to do while he was boxing, okay, he was able to see himself, right? Okay, could see himself fighting the other guy, right? From the left. So like if he was looking at himself from looking at him the right. Okay, and also which is something you can learn because we all do it anyway. He was able to look himself fighting from above.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So he could look all the four corners. Does it sound familiar? That 5-pointed star?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And he could see from above. But here's what was happening. So think about it. If you can have the perception of looking from 5 different directions, guess what? Everything's going to slow down. That's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. Okay. But the whole idea, what I'm trying to get to, is there's something called perceptual positions. And what it is, we all do this, okay? And if you know about this, you've done it before, great. Let me explain just a little bit. Basically, we all do this. We go through all these different perceptions every minute, all the time, every day, okay, in our life. But the thing is, we have the tendency to get stuck in one position. So, like when people say, oh my God, he's all about himself or she's all about herself, and, a bit of narcissism as well there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of the time, what it is that we get stuck, or, I wouldn't say stuck, whereas we get used to seeing things from one position.
Right.
So the first position is like through your own eyes. So you just see everything like that. No matter what other information you will default back to. So it's always I. You only see it from your situation. What Spirit came in and said, so by the way, this is, think about it. We're in the universe. The universe, it's all about perception. If you can, something that you already do naturally, okay? If you can go, in a moment, go from the first position, which is seeing things through your own eye, from the second position, seeing yourself from somebody else's eyes, the third position, seeing the situation that you're in from that position, fourth position, see what's happening in the situation from the system. The system means that, okay, so yeah, me and you, I'll keep looking till I see you in the side, but let me get back to my camera. It's like I'm with you. I want to talk to you here. So the fourth position, fourth position is basically, there's me, there's you. Okay, we have a relationship. Okay, we're talking now on this broadcast. Okay.
Yeah.
The fourth position is from the system. So everything involved with me and you, where we are, all those different perspectives, that's the fourth position. Then the fifth position will be from whoever you feel is God. And this is so funny. I've done this with lots of people. Okay, you know what? Like people that go, well, I don't believe in anything. I'm just an atheist. I believe in. And so here's a funny thing that always makes me smile. I go, so you don't believe anything because you must believe in something. You know what the classic is? I'll say the classic, or what comes up very much with what we would term people as being more left-brained, and we don't believe in any of that stuff, that spiritual stuff. Ooh, no. The logical mind. You know what usually comes up? Well, actually, the universe is actually, a grandiose AI.
So that's God. Yeah.
Right. So that will be the 5 positions. Now, here's the beautiful thing, is that because we can all do this, but we're not taught or trained, or it doesn't come into our awareness, we can get stuck, right?
Yeah.
Are locked into. That can be locked into from your conditioning, right? So that's kind of another way of unraveling. So in other words, what I'm basically saying is that wherever you're locked into, right?
Yeah.
A pattern or a story. The best way to get people to see things differently, in other words, go to a different position and then look at look at what's happening, right?
Totally.
And then the other thing is, what you do then is then from every position you gather information that
Absolutely.
brings it back. So when you get back to this first position, you have more information.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and when you'll become more adept, in other words, you have more information about the person or whoever you're working with, you can leverage that, what information is brought back within their map of the world.
Totally. I thank you. I mean, I appreciate that sharing. Absolutely. You know, there's a couple of things. There's a couple.
I've given a secret. Where am I going?
Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, sorry. There's a couple of things you shared that really kind of, you know, stuck with me. One was beyond the, you know, that I guess the first or the second person, where in your for second person is you're just recognizing that other person as a mirror, right? You know, but then you took it one step further yet, and you got to this place of how does that person see me? Not how do I see myself in the reflection of the person, but how does that person see me? Right. So you know, that in of itself is pretty profound, right? So you know, and that's another deeper level, and that in of itself is instantly going to breed at least a rudimentary form of empathy, which is where connection is going to start at all, right? So you know, for sure. And then the second thing, you know, when you're that fourth person that's observing, right? You know, that's very, I mean, well, ancient Hindu even, right? You know, they believe there's this conscious person that's, of course, I am, but there's this person, this part of you that's always observing, always watching.
The observer,
happen. Even when you're sleeping, there's that person watching. And so kind of the whole process and premise is to at some point achieve to be that person, the observer, be the person. Yeah, you know, and so this clicks right into place with those teachings also, right?
It's let me say this again.
Yeah.
Spirit says, we gave you all of these things, and we give it to you in different forms, depending on the way you, So that's a little bit why, for me, I do many things, and I seek knowledge and you know, seek in everything, because a lot of the times what happens is that I seek and I go, oh, that's similar. And I go, actually, the only difference between this and this is it just happens to be, if you were born here or you were born there, and your culture does this and your culture does that, we are all one. So it's fascinating. And you know, those divisions and boundaries that, you know, as you intimated as well, they're becoming more and more polarized. Well, of course they are, because any change, any shift, we have to go through the in and the out. We have to go, you know, at one point in my journey, I love chaos, man. Okay. You know, the thing is, I love chaos, but I got seduced by the dysfunction that the chaos caused, rather than realizing that chaos is what's going to happen to make things shift.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, so there's nothing wrong with chaos at all. In fact, it's part of the natural way that things shift. And we are in chaos now, but this chaos isn't a bad word. This always happens. You go through all nature, everything, it goes, that's the seasons. And and as you said earlier, we are in the season, we are in the shift, and we are basically no better than anybody else. Let me make this clear. You know, part of our journey, and the people probably listening to this, and other people who are not quite there, but wherever we are, okay, in the shift, it's because we said, yep, I want to be there. I want to.
Truly. Well, I mean, how many lifetimes do you think you've gone through to earn the privilege to be here at this time, right? So, you know, oh my God, whatever I did right to be here, again, I'm just, you know, thank you, myself, you know, whatever that looks like, right? So, you know, totally.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the most profound things that happened to me. And I've traveled a lot. I really have.
You actually have, and you know what? To be honest, when you were talking about having this dissension and separation and diversion and stuff, you've had the opportunity to see the globe. Like you've had an opportunity to see and experience. I mean, you were born in London, right? Another part of the world already, which maybe not so different from Canada, but huge different from Canada, right? And oh my goodness, and Egypt, and I'll let you tell the story. You know, totally,
I would say I'm lucky. I am lucky, and I must have planned it at some point. But that's what happened. And that old saying that they say, well, travel broadens the mind. Okay. For me, what travel has done for me is realize is that what's the saying? The 6 degrees of separation thing, right? Nice cliche.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love cliches. They're cliches for a reason because they keep working.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know.
It's a little bit like that thing about people go, here's another thing, and you do it and you know it. It's when you listen for what people say, is that cliches work because that's another way that us as human beings get to make sense of what's inside on the outside through the language. Okay. Another one is just beautiful, man. Metaphors. Ooh, they're so sweet. Okay. And a lot of times we tend to go for that direct language, depending on where you are and where you're born, and even language is so great. If you travel enough and you stay in places long enough, what will happen, I can guarantee you this. I don't usually guarantee, but I can guarantee you, in your awareness, you will change who you are, because the language that you're in, when I say stay somewhere, you start to learn the language, it will completely change that map of the world. Because every language inherently inside of it has a framework.
Oh, you're not wrong. Here, I'll share a story with you.
Please.
Here I am in Frankfurt, Germany. In a courtyard. I'm drinking my beer at noon because it's cheaper than coffee, right? And they don't serve like water there unless it's sparkly and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I've been in town. Now, my Oma taught me German as a young boy. And so my understanding of it is, like a third and a fourth, a third, 3 or 4 year old, kind of onward a little bit. But it took me a bit. Here's the gist of the story. I was sitting there minding my own business, and I stopped translating German into English, and I started listening in German. And there was a shift within myself that you just saying this actually takes me to that experience that I had in my story, and went, absolutely, I can understand exactly what he's talking about. Yeah. Because again, instead of translating German to English and back and forth, I became German again, right? And there was a genetic something that showed it. Even the radio station, I understood every word. I understood every conversation around me. I was in a whole different spectrum, and I knew more German than I thought I did. And I became a part of it rather than an observer of it and interpreting it into English, right?
Mm-hmm. How long were you there for?
Pardon me?
How long were you there for?
I was actually in Europe, a total of a couple weeks at a time. And different places. This particular trip, I think I was there for about 5 days.
Okay. So I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you were there, by chance, did you start dreaming in that language?
I would have to say yes. From that very moment forward, that I anchored in that way. Sprechen Sie Deutsch, even in my dreams, right? Yeah. For sure. Yes. Yeah. I anchored in and I became German, and it was a genetic response, if you like, right? Now again, we're typically Lithuanian-ish, I'm saying, but there was still that language brought this inspired this dynamic. I mean, it was through the language. I was still looking at the same people I was looking at 10 minutes previously, but somehow I felt connected to them differently. Right? Somehow the same buildings, the same table I was sitting at, the radio station, I'm saying, suddenly it just went, woof, and I was part of the process. I was integrated, whereas I was separated from it just moments previous. So yes is the answer. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, if we take that one step further, it really means in our DNA, we are wired.
Mhm.
It's totally wired. So all this, that's the thing, that all this separation piece, that always gets me. I'm this and that. And, when you travel, if you have an open mind, one of the things that really, really was profound for me, I'm sure the same for you, is that I'd go to different countries and I go, oh my God, that's so and so. Different color, different face, same mannerisms. I'm going, hold on.
Absolutely. 6 degrees of separation because there is only six people, Totally, Well, all
Yeah,
the archetypes are going to show up, right? And that's just the premise of it, right?
yeah,
It's interesting, and I'm still chewing on this language thing
yeah,
because
yeah.
I know this one lady who, when she speaks Japanese, her voice is higher and she's got almost the sweetest little girl voice. But when she speaks English, she's got this gravel voice, right? And there's actually a couple of people. I'm also learning a little bit of Mandarin, because my wife is
Really?
Mandarin.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm turning Japanese or not, or Chinese or not, right? But,
Yeah.
there's a part of me also that is taught that these old languages have influence, have impact, right?
Oh my God.
This English mongrel language is kind of a nothing, if you like. It's an incantation against us almost, right? Whereas any of the old original tongues have these tones that the trees respond to, that the universe responds to, and we are the universe, right?
Yeah.
And so absolutely, brother, I couldn't agree with you more. At the bottom of the well, it's language. And what a miracle is even just sound. Even just the fact that I can make this noise out of my face right now and everyone can hear me is in of itself pretty profound, right? Can't do that underwater or in space per se, or, etc. Right. And so to be here in the presence of being able to play with these sophisticated things we call words, right.
Yeah.
Is wow.
And sound is really good. And once again, you trigger something in me, because when we kind of move through all the modalities, we're coming to the point, and of course,
yes, well,
it's here.
Just like the dolphins. Yes,
It's here. It's already here. It's inherent inside of our DNA, and all that. I would use an English colloquialism, but I won't. But all that stuff that people talk about. Well, we have 80% junk DNA, and I go, what are you talking about? It's all there. It's all alive. Do you think spirit would make an incomplete being? Hello?
if you don't need your tail, after a while it falls off. If you're not using it, you are going to lose it. And so if it's there, it's doing something exactly.
Yeah.
By nature, right?
Yeah. And the thing is that, do you know how to tap into it? That's it. The only thing is that, and I think as well, from a scientific approach, it's limited. Okay, it's only limited because the scientific approach is limited.
Well, correct. It doesn't allow for that fifth element, the essence, the intent, the secret was starting to get closer, right? Where they proved that without the observer, the universe behaves different, right? And that very premise in of itself gets us to this place of science is incomplete. Right, because as long as we're looking at it, it's going to perform different, right?
And yet, some of the most spiritual people I've ever met are scientists. Some science guys, men and women, I just go, wow, and I go, wow, this is amazing. I go, I wonder if you could just shift that,
yeah.
Right, and then we would be doing all this in the stars and spaceships or whatever, and doing amazing things outside of the planet. Unfortunately,
well, and to be honest, brother, that's how I see you. You've got all this walls. You've got this wall full of certifications. You're obviously very well learned. You actually went to grammar school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Totally right. And so,
what? I went to Harry Potter school, so there we go.
Totally.
In fact, it's so funny. I have to say that that's where she got the whole concept.
That's even better. Okay, folks, you heard it here.
Yeah, the whole concept is if you come from Britain or you live in England, then when Harry Potter came out, it's so funny because I went to grammar, and my brothers didn't. They went to
Okay.
They went to the rough school, and my younger brother went to the right. And it's that same thing, It's just like we're envious, blah 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 blah. But the whole point is that whole setup how it's put there. You got the houses and you got the teachers and Gryffindor, whatever you want to call it. Ours were called Craig, Bachelor. I can't remember. Well, I can remember all of them, but I don't want to get into that. But it's a really great place to learn because everything was my school anyways, focused on learning and really got us to be very inquisitive and curious about learning things. So, you know, I feel I was really lucky to actually, and I didn't even get in there because of what I knew. It's because I was good at sport.
Interesting.
I was really good at different sports, and I went to, you know, with my parents and to meet the people there, and they said, you know what, you don't even have to take the exam because one of our sports is cricket, and we hear that you're very good.
Yeah, fascinating. So here's another lens to you then. Okay, so again, you're the smart guy. You know, I mean, you know some stuff, and you're curious to continue to learn. Sometimes, and I'll just share this with the people who are listening, sometimes those folks with the pieces of paper aren't necessarily the smartest because the tests are all about memory and stuff like that. You know, it's those people who continue to learn and educate themselves every day on some direction or another. Those are the folks that you want to be learning stuff from, you know, for sure. And so anyway, I see you as that. You got this athletic dynamic and, you know, you authentically connect with spirit. Now, I'm wondering, and we're getting to the top of the hour, this is just getting good, but did you manage to achieve that through, and again, you talked about how the channeling through the hypnosis and stuff like that's Dolores Cannon stuff, right? To, you know, and I know that you're able to access that, but did you bring a precursor to the table, you know, previous to even playing with that? You know, or was that what inspired it? Is that what maybe our folks from home can walk away with, you know?
That's a good question. I would probably say that I'm going to put it out and then come back in. I think inherent in all of us is the ability to tap in, shall we say. You know what, the thing is, what I can do, everybody can do. The things that, you know, even we can say, you know, if you tend to be somebody who worships these people, worship other people, which is not, for me, is taking away your own power.
Correct.
Okay. Basically, it's, for me, it was always there. However, this is leading to a very quick story. However, I was what's the word? The fire was lit inside of me through a hypnotic experience. That was really good. And when I went back and thought about my life, this was happening all the time. But I was, number one, I was very afraid of it, and number two, my conditioning had fear connected to it, which is for all of us.
Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, what really took me into another, should we say, another dimension of being able to connect was that I ended up in the Great Pyramid in Egypt.
Yes.
In the King's Chamber, and I was there. And if anybody's ever been to Egypt, I don't know what it was now, but this was like 2001. I missed the 2000. I didn't want to be there in case all the computers crashed and the pyramid came down.
Yeah.
Okay. I was there in 2001, and what they usually do, it's so hot in Egypt. Oh my God. That at that time they only let in a certain amount of people. You have to get there really early. But a certain amount of people in up until midday. So I turned up there on my own. Went in there, a group of people, you know, through the pyramid. I got to the King's Chamber, and there's nothing, pretty much a sarcophagus, the lid on the side, but nothing else, you know, just blank walls, but amazing energy. And I'm in there, and suddenly there's nobody there. And I'm going, oh, this is strange, because it was packed. So I heard, get in the sarcophagus. I went, what? Get in the sarcophagus. And of course, internally in my mind, I'm going, oh, come on, you know, like having a conversation and going, oh, God, what are you talking about? I'm thinking it's my own self. Get in the sarcophagus. All is well. So I got in the sarcophagus, laid down there, I did have my watch and I was in there for 15 minutes.
Oof.
It was just like amazing. And got out, still nobody there. I'm like, wow, that was amazing. And then the first people in were Japanese tourists. That's why when you said about Japan, it made me laugh. Japanese tourists came in, and I went, this was cool. So that experience really started me on, I'm a sacred sites guy, so I've been to many sacred sites. But for a while, what would happen is I go to a sacred site, it would clear out if there were any people there, and guess what? The first people who would come after I've done
Japanese tourists
would be Japanese tourists. When I say Japanese people, I won't say Japanese tourists because that's not fair. That's not fair because they're just as spiritual. But
no doubt, yeah.
And it's so funny because my wife, I met my wife straight after that. I met my wife 2001, met her in London, and we got married in 2002. So it's meant to be.
Totally.
And then we started traveling, going to sacred places. We go to many different places, and we go and do a little bit of work, shall we say, and a little bit of tuning in. And every time, even in Ireland, we would have had a dolmen that you actually have a map, in the back of a farmer's field. Okay, right? We went in there. I love energy, so I really can resonate. And we're in this field, and we go in, we find a dolmen, and go underneath it. It's like spectacular energy. Oh my God! And one of the things about the dolmen is, and this is like when you kind of tune in, you find out. Well, I can just say this from my experience. You go beneath the dolmen, and there's a whole network that connects all these different, and you can travel on them, whatever. That's another thing, another story. Oh. But even in this field in Ireland, farmer's field, we come out of it, and guess who's coming along the road?
Love it.
Japanese people.
Again, yeah, there's a message there. When cycles start to repeat themselves, there's a message there specifically for you.
And basically, let's face it, this as well. Everything is speeding up. Yeah. And, at one time, through my journey, it was like, coincidence. It's a coincidence. Now it's like, forget the idea of a coincidence.
Now you need to expect it. Every time you just finished up at a sacred site, you go 3, 2, 1. Okay, here they are. Totally. Yeah. And if they don't show up, you're wondering, okay, what's next, right? Totally. Yeah. I experienced similar cycles in my own world, right? That are just unique. Yeah. And okay, I'm waiting. Oh, there it is. Good. Now totally.
And the other thing that's really, really beautifully connected with you and I is that remember, I moved from Burnaby. You're in Burnaby. Are you still in Burnaby?
Yeah.
I moved from Burnaby, and I came to the island, and then we had a conversation. And I went, "Oh yeah, I'm in Parksville," and you went, "Dude, I just did this thing."
And I was there a week ago. Yeah, totally. I was doing ceremony. 75. Yeah.
You said I did some drumming, and there's a vortex that comes in. And I went, "Thank you very much." The place I needed to go.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, everything is connected, and right. Oh my God, this synchronicity thing, as you said, I haven't been to I haven't been to sacred places lately, but this is sacred, the island.
I agree.
But it's like every day, once you open up your field to possibility, things just happen, and it's not even coincidence. You go, okay, you're on the pathway, you are tuned in, and then you'll now be. The thing I like to put it this way is that you're able to navigate the terrain, and that I'll just go back to when you did your introduction. At the moment, we are navigating the terrain, and we have shields up every so often, but the shields that we have up, as you said, the shields that I have up is joy and love and compassion and happiness. You said happy, and that's exactly how I feel, and everything else is happening right in the world of polarity is there for a reason, because it's like that not the 100 monkey thing, but it's like, there's the old new age thing where what's going to happen, and it goes to those prophecies, is that, 144,000. Yeah, you know. But actually, the whole idea is that 144,000 is 144,000 people who are tuned in enough so that that resonance now work. And here's the thing: it works. That energy works with the planet.
Totally.
And here's another thing. The other day, I was in a conversation with some very very beautiful people, and they were like, "Oh, the earth, this and the earth, that we have to save the earth." And I said, "Hold on a second." Right? Okay, I said, "The earth doesn't talk to me like that. The earth goes, this is my place. You are guests. I don't actually need you to save me."
True story.
Right? It comes across as a very, people get a bit, well, no, we have to save the earth. And I said, no, we work for the earth.
Totally. Yeah, tree. We're actually being mined by trees as we speak, right? You know, I mean, they breathe what we expel, and they, what I'm saying, and then when we die, we feed the roots, and I think trees are in charge. Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah. I think the earth is in charge, and
I agree.
And also the other thing is as well is that I think that if we are the earth and the earth is us, then the bottom line is everything. The other day I was thinking about it, and people are talking about, oh my God, the animals and all these things. But if you watch a show on the Nature Channel, right, it's violent. They're all violent, and they say, "Oh no," and I said, hold on a second. Part of the Earth's template, right? Which people say we're coming to a shift. I actually think that the shift is not just it's the Earth's shift, and the Earth's shift, right, is also what we're going through. So when we talk about oneness, and we're all not separate, okay? It's like somebody said to me, "Well, why do we have predators on this planet?" And I said, "Because the Earth is a predator. The Earth created it." Right? The Earth is now going up. What do they say? It's ascending. It's ascending into a different.
Totally. Well, Shiva, the creator and the destroyer simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think romance novels, or the romantic part of spirituality, does not resonate with me anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reflection, or that's a story. And actually, where we can trace that story to? The medieval times on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you actually check into it, you go, "Oh my God, all this thing about even the way that we couple," right? Even though we get together as masculine and feminine, male and female, or male or female, whatever, right? All of that transpired at one point because basically, I would say it this way, the harshness of life from a lot of the people on the planet at the time. So that in some ways that could romanticize that.
Makes so much sense.
Anyway, I mean, as you said, I've my God, sometimes I have so much stuff inside of my head. Totally. So stuff that I've kind of researched and done and lived. And,
well, brother, unfortunately, though, we've run out of time. We hit the top of our hour.
Okay.
I want every one of you. I mean, my brother just doesn't mentor, but he's now opened up. He confessed he's doing readings now as well. And if you're looking for someone to if you're floundering just a little bit and you really connected with my brother, please reach out. And the website's here. And
readings.
Yeah,
coaching.
And you and I are going to connect again very soon here. There's so much going on. Again, we're flocking. What I'm saying? We're eagling right now, but I can feel it, coming. Maybe me and the wife pop over and see you guys,
Yeah, and also I think, obviously physically, love to see you, love to be in your energy. But I will say right now, depending on when this goes out, the the Lionsgate 8.8 portal is dynamic, my friend.
Unlike any other Lionsgate ever. This one's the center of the infinity symbol. You know where they cross over?
Oh, you
This
got it,
one's the
man.
center.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what I would say, and as the programming finished, is I would say that before then we need to talk.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe I've already got something in the receptacle on an energetic level to kind of play with. So, okay.
Love it. Okay, everyone at home, love you. I'll see you next week. And but we're on, brother. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're on. So, and let's say namaste.
Namaste.
Or namaste, man. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks.